Good morning, you're watching A News. I'm Lee Brown. Here are your headlines. 2 children dead and 17 others injured in Minneapolis school shooting. Donald Trump holds Gaza policy meeting with Tony Blair and Jared Kushner. And President Ilham Aliyev says the Zangezur corridor will open up new transit opportunities, speaking in an interview with Al Arabiya TV. Communities in Minneapolis, Minnesota gathered for a candlelit vigil on Wednesday after an armed assailant killed 2 children and injured 17 others, including students at a Catholic school. Authorities say the suspect, who died by suicide, is believed to have acted alone.
Children held candles at a vigil in Lyndhurst Park in Minneapolis on Wednesday after 2 were killed when an assailant armed with 3 guns fired through stained glass windows into a Catholic church. Authorities say the gunman, armed with a rifle, shotgun and pistol, fired dozens of rounds into students attending Mass, injuring 17 people before taking his own life.
We believe it is one suspect, a sole shooter. We believe he is deceased. He is in his early 20s. Does not have an extensive known criminal history, and we are looking through information left behind to try and determine some type of motive. This was a deliberate act of violence against innocent children and other people worshiping. The sheer cruelty and cowardice of firing into a church full of children is absolutely incomprehensible.
The FBI identified the suspect as 23-year-old Robin Westman, who graduated from the school in 2017. Records show Westman changed names from Robert in 2020 after identifying as female. Law enforcement confirmed that Westman posted videos on YouTube displaying weapons and ammunition, now taken off social media. The videos showed names of previous school shooters scrawled on a rifle magazine, alongside erratic political statements. School children described moments of fear and confusion as the attack unfolded.
I was just at church, and I heard something like really loud, like I thought it was fireworks in the church, and then I saw the shooting, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so scared. And so a teacher led me downstairs to the preschool classroom. And so I went there, and me and my friend Cece were just praying, and then we went outside. We were just like waiting there, and then we went to somebody's house to be safe, and then we went to the F-45 thing, and then I saw my mom, and I was just like so happy, I was really glad that she was like with me.
US President Donald Trump said in a social media post that he had been fully briefed on the incident and that the White House would continue to monitor the situation. Trump issued a proclamation honouring the victims, ordering flags at the White House and all public buildings, military posts and naval stations across the United States and its territories to be flown at half-staff. According to the K-12 school shooting database, there have been more than 140 shootings at US elementary and secondary schools this year. The Minneapolis attack occurred just 2 days after the school year began.
Turning to US diplomacy, where President Trump has held a White House meeting on the future of Gaza, joined by former UK Prime Minister Tony Blair and his son-in-law Jared Kushner. The Oval Office talks centred on post-war plans, with officials stressing the challenge of ensuring Hamas does not regain power. Ubay Shabandabar reports from Washington.
President Trump held a policy meeting at the White House on Wednesday to discuss the future of the Gaza Strip and potential plans to rebuild the enclave once the ongoing war comes to an end. The policy meeting included former United Kingdom Prime Minister Tony Blair and Jared Kushner, the president's son-in-law, who played a key advisory role focusing on the Middle East in the first Trump administration. The discussions in the Oval Office focused on how to increase aid into Gaza. Gaza could be facing a famine, according to some aid groups. Prime Minister Blair and Jared Kushner presented President Trump with ideas for a post-war plan on how Gaza could be governed and potentially rebuilt outside the control of the militant group Hamas. A day after plan for Gaza would be a key component for any diplomatic initiative to end the ongoing conflict. But rebuilding Gaza, which is essentially destroyed under new political and security management that would then be agreeable to both the Israelis and Palestinians, could prove a difficult task. A White House official told the press on Wednesday that President Trump wants the war to come to an end, and that he wants peace and prosperity to be available for everyone in the region. President Trump began his presidency with a ceasefire agreement that he helped broker between Israel and Hamas. That lasted 2 months until fighting resumed once again. The hope from the White House is that a deal that ends the fighting and returns all the remaining Israeli hostages can then lead to the rebuilding of Gaza and a better life for its inhabitants. The key question for officials here is how can this be done in a way that ensures that Hamas is not able to gain power and threaten Israel once again in order to prevent the repeat of the October 7th attacks that killed over 1,000 Israelis in 2023. I'm Ube Shabander, A News, Washington, D.C.
Remaining on the war in Gaza, we earlier spoke to Nir Bond, a political analyst who joined us from Jerusalem. He shared his view on the complexity of the Israel-Hamas negotiations and what we can expect as a next step.
We've had a number of windows of opportunity to reach a deal or an end of hostilities. We have not done that yet. I think we have a serious window that is opening again, and I think that the statements of the Americans correspond to an effort to try to end this round of conflict that has taken tens of thousands of lives. That is devastating. Also, Israel from the inside, aside of the casualties and the kidnapped and everything that had happened here since October 7th. I think we all need this. But again, it's important to make sure that we're thinking not just how to end this particular chapter and reach a ceasefire of 60 days, but we really need to think and envision a day after that we'll be able to pave a new path for the future. And this path cannot include groups like Hamas in Gaza, or I would also say Hezbollah in Lebanon. Because these are the groups that have taken, by proxy, have taken all their energy, and rather than creating life and peace for their own people, have creating conflict, rage and carnage, and eventually forced Israel to respond in a kinetic way and really create what we now are seeing in Gaza. We all would like to avoid this, not just now to end it, but to avoid this for the future. So we need to make sure that whatever we do is going to be sustainable, which is the word that you've used, and that's the most important word here.
Now, US President Donald Trump has called for Hungarian billionaire George Soros and his son to be prosecuted under the Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act. In a post on social media, he accused the family of supporting violent protests and causing damage to the country. The RICO law, enacted in 1970, was designed to combat organized crime, but has since been applied more broadly. It covers offences ranging from drug trafficking to fraud.
But I want to see it end.
In the latest on the Russia-Ukraine conflict, Ukrainian representatives are due to meet in US officials in New York on Friday in pursuit of ending the war. US President Donald Trump's special envoy Steve Witkoff will attend and says Ukraine is considering Russia's peace proposal, while Moscow has expressed a desire to resolve the conflict. Witkoff said he is hopeful a peace deal can be reached by the end of the year, adding that final decisions will be made in the Ukrainian capital, Kyiv, not in Washington. Moving to Europe, where Germany is expanding its military with a new 6-month voluntary service in a goal to double trained reservists. Young men will be asked to participate and women can join voluntarily. Here's more on that story.
Germany is moving to expand its military ranks amid growing security concerns over Russia. On Wednesday, the Cabinet approved a draft law introducing a 6-month voluntary military service. The Defence Ministry hopes the scheme will double the number of trained reservists from the current 100,000, with some volunteers expected to continue into full-time service.
The Bundeswehr must grow. The international security situation, above all, Russia's aggressive posture, makes this necessary. We don't just need a well-equipped force, we are already well on the way there. We have been doing this for 2.5 years and will not stop. But we also need a Bundeswehr that is strong in terms of personnel.
Under the new model, starting in 2026, all young men will be required to fill out a Bundeswehr questionnaire on health, education and willingness to serve, with women invited to do so voluntarily. The programme is voluntary, but if too few sign up, Parliament could revive compulsory service.
But from today's perspective, I am confident that we will initially achieve the numbers we need. Everything else will then be to be assessed in light of developments. But I am truly grateful that we are taking this step today. This puts us back on the path towards a professional army.
Volunteers will receive incentives like drone training, language courses and driving subsidies, starting with basic duties before moving to specialised roles. The proposal now heads to Parliament, where debate is expected, with critics questioning whether voluntary service can deliver enough recruits to rebuild the Bundeswehr.
Turning to European solidarity, where French President Emmanuel Macron, German Chancellor Friedrich Merz and Poland's Prime Minister Donald Tusk have denounced Russian electoral interference on a visit to Moldova. It's a show of support by the EU leaders ahead of legislative elections in the country next month.
Well, the three EU leaders, the French President Emmanuel Macron, the German Chancellor Friedrich Merz and the Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk, they held a news conference on Wednesday afternoon, local time, in the Moldovan capital Chisinau, alongside the Moldovan President Maia Sandu. Earlier in the day, the three leaders had held talks with her, and they all in that news conference denounced Kremlin propaganda, saying that they were worried and wanted to highlight what they believed was ongoing Russian interference in the Moldovan parliamentary elections. The Polish Prime Minister said that there was a lot of fake news and disinformation online, much of it being directed by Russia. The German Chancellor Friedrich Merz said that he recalled a comment by Vladimir Putin many years ago when the Russian leader said that he thought the breakup of the Soviet Union was the greatest geopolitical catastrophe of the 20th century. The German Chancellor warning that the Russian leader was trying to regain those lost lands, particularly through the war of aggression against Ukraine. And Friedrich Merz did say that he felt that Moldova was on an undeniable and irreversible path to European Union membership. He said that Germany and many other EU states would welcome a stable democratic Republic of Moldova in the EU. The French President Emmanuel Macron said that the European Union is not the Soviet Union, saying that the trading bloc is a free and open grouping of member states who are able to join of their own free will and where their sovereignty is respected. The Moldovan government is hoping that this visit by these leaders of three big EU economies will give a boost to the pro-EU parties in the Moldovan parliamentary elections, which are scheduled to take place at the end of September. Ross Cullen for A News in Paris.
Now we look back to August 2005, when the United States was hit by one of the worst natural disasters in its history, Hurricane Katrina. The storm devastated New Orleans, forcing more than 1 million people to flee, while tens of thousands were left behind. Nearly 1,400 lives were lost.
It was 20 years ago when the United States came face to face with Hurricane Katrina. On August 23, 2005, Katrina formed with the merger of a tropical wave and the remnants of a tropical depression. After briefly weakening to a tropical storm over South Florida, Katrina entered the Gulf of Mexico on August 26th and rapidly intensified to a Category 5 hurricanes before weakening to a Category 3 at its landfall on August 29th near Buras-Triumph, Louisiana. 80% of New Orleans, as well as large areas in neighbouring parishes, were flooded. Hurricane Katrina became one of the deadliest natural disasters in US history, killing an estimated 1,400 people. 1 million people fled the New Orleans area before Katrina arrived, but tens of thousands of others had lacked the means or ability to get out. The population of New Orleans decreases by over 50%. New Orleans was a city defined by music, food and water. But when Katrina's surge arrived, multiple levee and flood wall failures turned neighborhoods into lakes. Katrina didn't just claim lives, but also washed away people's memories.
Once Katrina hit, it like wiped away everything that you did as a youth, like the traditions of what my, Abramson was, the tradition of like what the East was, and like just the atmosphere of what New Orleans East and Abramson was about. And it's still to this day, like it's kind of mind-boggling because like I still don't have no baby pictures that I can see. You know what I'm saying? Because it got wiped away in Katrina.
Today, Hurricane Katrina is also remembered for its devastating economic toll, estimated at over $200 billion. The storm destroyed over 200,000 homes, damaged public infrastructure like roads and bridges, and crippled major ports. In New Orleans alone, an estimated 80% of all structures were damaged by water. Hundreds of thousands of residents were left jobless, with an estimated 95,000 people in New Orleans losing their employment in the 10 months after the hurricane.
Throughout the area hit by the hurricane, we will do what it takes. We will stay as long as it takes to help citizens rebuild their communities and their lives.
All those negative impacts of Hurricane Katrina bring different political discussion agenda for 20 years. Politicians, the media and the public widely criticize different levels of government, especially between New Orleans, Louisiana and federal officials. Conflicts centered on accusations of racism, poor leadership, miscommunication, funding disputes and the slow, bureaucratic disaster response. This week marks the 20th anniversary of Hurricane Katrina, a storm that devastated New Orleans and the Gulf Coast, but ultimately reshaped the entire country's understanding of disaster. Even today, Katrina is remembered with grief and sorrow, but also as a hard teacher whose lessons still shape how we prepare for disasters.
Moving to China, where the upcoming Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit in Tianjin is set to chart a 10-year roadmap for development and regional security. Pakistan's Planning Minister Azan Iqbal says this mission reflects the SCO's real strength, emphasizing that lasting solutions to conflicts lie in dialogue and cooperation rather than war.
With just a few days left, preparations are complete in Tianjin for the largest ever Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit, scheduled for Sunday and Monday. The event will gather leaders from more than 20 countries and representatives of 10 international organizations for 2 days of high-level talks. The summit will review past achievements, adopt the Tianjin Declaration, and set out a 10-year roadmap focusing on development, security and regional cooperation. At the core of these discussions lies the SCO's mission to promote peace through dialogue. Pakistan's Minister for Planning, Development and Special Initiatives, Azan Iqbal, stressed the importance of collective action when facing today's challenges.
I think one very important lesson of our times is that these challenges that we are discussing are now cross-border challenges. They are global challenges, they are regional challenges. No single country can fight them on its own. So the solution to most of these problems is more collaboration. Solution to conflicts is not fighting wars. It is through engagement, through dialogue. Every conflict can be solved by dialogue.
His remarks echo the central goal of this year's summit, to strengthen the SCO's role as a platform for peace and problem solving in the region.
So therefore, under SCO, we do hope that the regional conflicts can be solved through dialogue, through greater support by SCO member countries to bring conflicting parties on table. So I think maybe SCO can play a role in bringing about de-escalation in different parts of the world through promoting dialogue through its platform.
As Tianjin prepares to host the summit, expectations are high that the SCO will deliver new momentum for cooperation, dialogue and shared stability across Africa, Asia and Europe.
Now, Azerbaijani President Ilham Aliyev says that the recent deal with Armenia paves the way for fresh opportunities across the South Caucasus and beyond. In an interview with Al Arabiya, President Aliyev stressed that the Zangezur corridor will boost east-west and north-south routes, benefit Armenia and pose no threat to Iran.
The document signed at the White House between Azerbaijan and Armenia opens absolutely new opportunities for the South Caucasus region and the broader regions of Central Asia and the Middle East. That's according to Azerbaijani President Ilham Aliyev, who made the comment when he was interviewed by the Al Arabiya TV channel in Baku.
Today, the Middle Corridor, one of its branches, which goes across the Caspian from Asia, goes from Azerbaijan to Georgia, to Turkey, and then to Europe, and also to Georgian seaports. This is the only way how to connect Asia with Europe through Azerbaijan. So Zangezur corridor or trip will give alternative. So the second corridor will go through the territory of Armenia. And this is a benefit to Armenia. And I was trying to deliver this message to my Armenian colleagues that they will eventually become a transit country. Every country, if has a potential, tries to become a transit country. We, for instance, we want to be a transit country. We want corridors to cross Azerbaijan from east to west, north to south.
Speaking about the Zangezur corridor, President Ilham Aliyev also mentioned that the project is not in any way a threat to Iran.
There have been a lot of rumors in some media, in some internet sites, that Azerbaijan is planning to occupy Zangezur. Azerbaijan is planning to cut Iranian-Armenian border, and that was absolutely false. We didn't have such an intentions. Again, if we wanted to do it, we would have done it. In November 2020, it was very easy to do, and throughout all these 5 years, it was very easy to do. It's only 40 kilometers. Just from military point of view, it will take not much time. Just from both sides you come, from Nakhchivan and from mainland, and you take it.
He also emphasized that the Zangezur corridor will help boost the north-south route in Iran.
What can happen with connection between north and south? It can go through Zangezur. Again, if you imagine the map, it can go from Northern Europe to Russia, to Azerbaijan, and then from Azerbaijan, it can go to Zangezur, enter Nakhchivan, and from Nakhchivan, we have a railroad connection with Iran, which goes to the Persian Gulf. So actually, the Zangezur corridor will not only be east-west, but also north-south transportation corridor. And instead of one north-south route from Russia to Iran, Azerbaijan, Iran, we will have another one from Russia to Azerbaijan, Armenia, Nakhchivan, Iran. So it will be, I think, a win-win situation for the whole region, and there'll be no losers.
President Ilham Aliyev added that when the corridor through Armenia is opened, there will be more opportunities to deliver cargo. According to him, it will be necessary to build a railroad on the Iranian side of the river, which have already been discussed. And if that happens, then part of the cargo will go through Iran.
Moving to regional diplomacy, where King Abdullah II of Jordan has made a historic visit to Central Asia, marking a new chapter in Amman's ties with the region. Over the course of 2 days, the monarch travelled to Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan, where more than 30 agreements were signed. Our correspondent Fariza Kalimuzina has the details.
King Abdullah II's visit to Uzbekistan was the first in the history of bilateral ties, giving particular weight to the talks in Samarkand. The two sides signed 15 agreements, including extradition, mutual protection of investments, the lifting of visa requirements, and cooperation in education, science, tourism, and agriculture. Uzbekistan and Jordan also agreed to significantly boost trade, launch joint industrial projects, and set up an intergovernmental commission. Regular flights between the capitals are also under discussion. From Uzbekistan, King Abdullah II traveled on to Kazakhstan. At the Akorda, he held talks with President Kassym-Jomart Tokayev, and more than 15 agreements were signed. According to the Kazakh leader, relations between the two countries are now at their most productive stage in the past 30 years. A solid basis for this was laid during Tokayev's visit to Amman in February, when both sides agreed to expand economic cooperation, improve conditions for trade and investment, and launch a series of joint projects. Among the key agreements is a deal to create a joint venture between Kazatomprom and Jordan's national company Jumco to develop uranium deposits. Industrial and research work will continue until the end of 2026. If the results prove positive, the joint venture will be formally launched with 70% owned by Kazakhstan and 30% by Jordan. Kazakhstan is also exploring cooperation with Jordan in the field of drone technology. The Minister of Digital Development, Jaslan Madiyev, noted that although no agreement has yet been reached on joint production, Jordan's experience could serve as a foundation for building Kazakhstan's own drone industry. Currently, 59 companies with Jordanian capital are operating in Kazakhstan. In bilateral trade, turnover in 2024 reached $6.3 million. The visit will conclude with a major business forum in Astana, expected to bring together around 300 entrepreneurs and investors, with both heads of state due to attend. From Almaty, Kazakhstan, Fariza Kalimurzina, A News.
Now, United Nations nuclear inspectors have entered Iran for the first time since Tehran suspended cooperation in June after attacks on its nuclear sites by Israel and the US. The International Atomic Energy Agency chief, Rafael Grossi, confirmed that inspectors visited the Bushehr nuclear plant, but said no agreement had been reached on their access. Meanwhile, Germany, France, and the UK are expected to trigger the snapback mechanism on Thursday to reimpose UN sanctions within 30 days, unless Iran resumes full cooperation and engages in serious nuclear talks. Turkey's aid groups have continued delivering millions of meals, water, medical supplies, and shelters to Gaza since October 2023, despite Israel's restrictions. Our correspondent Alia Aziz has more from Istanbul.
Turkish humanitarian aid groups have kept vital lifelines open to Gaza since October 7, 2023, delivering food, water, medical supplies, and shelter despite Israel's strict access restrictions. The Turkish Red Crescent delivered 5 goodness shipments carrying 869 truckloads of over 15,000 tons of food, hygiene, shelter, and medical supplies. In total, it served over 6.8 million hot meals with a daily capacity of 21,000 meals. Working with the FAD, it shipped tens of thousands of canned meat, water, and emergency kits through Egypt's ports. Turkish humanitarian groups are distributing food, water, and medical aid across Gaza, despite access challenges. The IHH Foundation reports providing tens of millions of meals. Deniz Fener Association runs soup kitchens and water deliveries. Aid groups like Can Suyu, IDDEF, Doctors Worldwide, and Sadaka Taşı reach hundreds of thousands with essentials. Turkey has sent 16 aid ships through Afad, though many trucks are stuck at the Egyptian border. According to the latest UN-backed IPC analysis, more than 500,000 people in Gaza are already in famine, with over 640,000 people expected to face tragic food insecurity by the end of September. UN agencies warn that malnutrition among children is increasing, with tens of thousands at risk of death if aid cannot flow freely. They stress that only a sustained ceasefire and humanitarian access can prevent the famine from spreading further. Frey News. This is Aliyah Aziz, Istanbul, Turkey.
And finally, to a discovery in the region. Archaeologists in Georgia have uncovered a human jawbone more than 1 million years old. The find at the Orozmani site south of Tbilisi offers new insight into how our earliest ancestors spread across the globe. Our correspondent has more.
The discovery belongs to Homo erectus, the first human species to leave Africa nearly 2 million years ago. Scientists say that jawbone is among the oldest human remains ever found outside Africa, confirming that this part of Georgia was a crucial waypoint in the early migration of humankind. The Orozmani site may be no bigger than 2 parking spaces, but is proving to be one of the richest. Alongside the jawbone, archaeologists have uncovered fossils of saber-toothed tigers, elephants, wolves, deer and giraffes, as well as caches of simple stone tools. These finds offer a rare glimpse into the environment where early humans lived, hunted and adapted.
So this is such a small site, yes, but it's so rich with bones. I mean, my second day I found a nice little ankle bone, nice little articulation of the astragalus, some foot bones as well. So you go down 5 centimeters every time you go. There's a good chance you're going to find something. And when we look between the 2 different lava flows, I mean, that anywhere we see that, this could be the same thing. So there's so much to be found.
By analyzing the remains, researchers hope to answer key questions about survival, what these first migrants ate, how they coped with new climates, and what conditions allowed them to thrive so far from Africa.
If you want to study like how adaptable these early humans were, in which kind of environments they were able to live, these are key locations, because these really, if you think about these early humans that were expanding out of Africa, they were evolved in African environments, and now they were dispersing out of Africa. And here we have this sort of very early hub of these early humans.
The discovery also adds to a pattern of finds in Georgia. At nearby Dmanisi, scientists have already uncovered 1.8 million-year-old human skulls, and in 2022, a tooth from the same period was unearthed close to Orozmani. Together, they confirmed the region as one of the world's most important windows into early human history. Archaeologists say that with every new season at Orozmani, more fragments of early life are revealed, and each one brings us closer to understanding the origins of humanity itself. It's Nini Nikolaishvili reporting from Tbilisi, A News.
That's all your news for now. Stay tuned to A News and have a great morning.